Welcome to Fulton School's Transportation Tablet Training. This video provides detailed information for drivers to conduct all aspects of using the bus tablet. Before we begin, let's discuss the steps in the process we want all drivers to follow. Your workday begins when you arrive at your bus, log into your UKG Pro app, and punch in for your shift. At this point, you should crank the engine of the bus. This will prompt you to exit the bus and conduct a pre-trip inspection. Upon completing the pre-trip inspection, you will board the bus and log into the tablet. After logging into the tablet with your user ID, you'll be prompted to complete and submit an inspection form. You must advance through every screen to submit your inspection form. You will now be asked if you are driving a route, and if so, is that route the route assigned bus? The rest of the video will explain in detail every step that every driver must follow every assigned shift.
During this video, we'll cover a few of the settings on the CalAmp tablet, also referred to as an MDT, which stands for Mobile Data Terminal. The menu option is in the top left corner. Simply click the hamburger menu option to proceed. You'll have a Home, Settings, Diagnostics, Stop Arm Violation, and Emergency button options. The Home button takes you directly to the home screen of the tablet. However, to continue using the tablet after that time, you would need to tap the Add Login button to log into the tablet. You normally would log into the tablet simply by clicking the Start button over here. The next option is the Settings button. If you tap Settings, it'll take you to the Settings screen. The first option here is the App Settings, and the first option in the list is the Ridership Verification setting. As of this time, Fulton County Schools does not participate in the ridership option. Ridership is when students board the bus and they scan on and off the bus. If and when Fulton County Schools begins using the ridership option, the first option here is ridership verification. If this setting is green, that means it's enabled, and this enables an option when a student scans on the bus, a pop-up screen will display to the driver and let them know whether it's a authorized scan or an unauthorized scan. And by that we mean, is the student boarding the bus on the correct bus and at the correct stop? That would be an authorized scan. Or is the child boarding on an incorrect bus, or are they boarding or deboarding at the wrong stop? So ridership verification will display pop-ups to the drivers. There may be times when you don't want to use ridership verification, and at that time you would simply tap this button to turn it off. If ridership verification is disabled, every time a student scans, a pop-up displays, but it only displays the number of the card that the student scanned. It will not display the student's name nor their stop information. Again, as of 2025, Fulton County Schools has elected not to use the ridership features. The next option is navigation audio alerts. If and when you choose to use navigation on the tablet can give you audio directions. If you want to hear those audio directions, leave this setting enabled. If you'd rather not hear the audio directions, you can simply disable that feature. The default language of the tablet is English. However, you can select this option and switch to Spanish or French. If you choose to use Spanish or French, the tablet will reboot, so just be expecting that. The next option is volume. So there's a slider that you can use to either increase or decrease the volume. You can also mute any kind of sound on the tablet. If you tap this button, you'll see it turns orange. If you tap it once again, it turns back blue, and now you can use the slider once again. The next option is brightness. Just like the volume, if you want to adjust the brightness of the tablet, you can either slide it down, or slide it forward to increase the brightness. There are several different tablet versions. With this version, the brightness control is listed here, and once again, you can use the slide bar. With other versions, you need to swipe down from the top of your screen, and then you'll have access to a brightness control where you can either dim or brighten the tablet. I'm going to hit the back button. Takes me back to the welcome screen. Once again, if I go to the hamburger menu, the next option is diagnostics. That's really for technicians only, so you can ignore this setting. The next option is stop arm violation. If you tap the stop arm violation button, it sends an event to the vehicle history indicating that a vehicle ignored your stop arm. Now understand, it simply sends an event to the server and documents that a violation occurred. You don't have the option to take a picture or document anything of the vehicle. It simply sends an event saying at this time and at this location on this date, a stop arm violation occurred. Your administration can use that information to share with local law enforcement so that they can target hotspot areas. The last option is an emergency option. It functions as a silent alarm. So if an emergency were to occur, a driver could potentially tap the emergency button. Now that emergency button needs to be tied to an alert in the software. So your administration would need to set up an alert. Once you press this button, an alert would be triggered, and either an email or a text message would go to certain administrative individuals, and therefore they would know that an emergency or an incident is happening. Be sure to speak to your administration about this feature to ensure that the alert has been enabled, and CalAMP suggests this feature is tested before the emergency feature is used. Once again, this video has covered the menu options on the CalAMP tablet. During this video, we'll cover clocking into the tablet. Now, before we begin, understand that when you start the bus, the tablet will go through a boot up process. It usually takes about a minute to a minute and a half. Before you begin using the tablet, you need to wait for this date and timestamp to display at the top of the tablet. This is very important. It means the tablet will be able to communicate the information back to the server. When you're ready to begin, click Start. Fulton County school bus drivers log in using their employee ID. This is your 4 to 6 digit number located in Atlas. You'll enter your employee ID number on the tablet, which is also known as MDT. That stands for Mobile Data Terminal. Enter your number by tapping on the tablet. Select Next. On the next screen, you'll select what kind of employee you are. 3 options are available. I'm going to pretend I'm a bus driver logging on to the tablet. The last step is to select what job you're doing that day. A number of different options are presented to you. I'm going to select regular route for this example. As soon as you select your activity or your job, the tablet will try to authenticate you. In other words, it will validate the number that you've typed in to see if it can find the driver associated to that number. In this case, I'm logging in using an example driver named John Driver. Now, if I'm the only one that intends to log into the tablet, I can go ahead and hit Continue, which will take me to the home screen of the tablet. If there happens to be a transportation assistant that will ride along with me, and if they happen to be near me at the time I'm logging in, we can click Add Login to add a second login to the tablet. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and hit Continue, and we'll add the transportation assistant later. So now that I've hit Continue, I'm taken to the home screen, and a couple of different pop-up messages will be presented to me as the driver. The first one says, would you like to complete an inspection now? On a normal everyday basis, or the majority of the time, you should select yes. You should do an inspection before driving the vehicle. In this case, we're only talking about clocking in or onto the tablet, so I'm going to select no. The second pop-up says, are you driving a route? Once again, we do want you to select the route that you're driving. That's very important. But once again, for this video, we're just talking about clocking onto the tablet. So I'm going to select no. At this point, the home screen is fully displayed. And notice that there is a 1 on the tablet. 1 means that one employee has signed on to this tablet. Now, this is not necessary to click this button, but I'm going to click the hours button just to show you that we can see who that one person is. Notice that John Driver is logged onto the tablet. They selected that they're a bus driver and they're running the regular route. And also, it shows the date and the time that the clock in began, and so far how long they've been clocked on to the tablet. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit the back button, which is going to take me back to the home screen. Every time you go back to the home screen, this message is displayed. This option will be covered in a separate video. So once again, I'm going to click no. So now if you're the driver, and once again, if a transportation assistant comes out and plans to ride along with you, we also have an add login button on the home page. So let the transportation assistant use the tablet. They'll tap add login. It takes them back through the 3 steps that you as the driver completed. So as the transportation assistant, I'm going to enter a different number, my own number. If you happen to make any mistakes, like if you enter an extra number, you can click the X button to remove that number. Click next to continue. Select your employee type. So as the transportation assistant, I would select transportation assistant. And then once again, they should select what activity or job they're performing. Most likely it would be the same as the driver, but it could be something different. I'm going to use the same one, regular route. Once again, the tablet will try to verify or validate the number that I typed in. In this example, I entered a number that would not be recognized on purpose. This is what the tablet will display if it cannot validate your number. It'll say no employee found. Now, it could be that the transportation assistant just simply made a mistake and entered the wrong number. So we always suggest trying again. Once again, they would enter their number. Select next. Select transportation assistant. And once again, regular route. Again, the tablet will try to validate or authenticate the number that was typed in. Once again, I've received no employee found. This is on purpose. If you've tried a couple of times to enter the number and the tablet still cannot authenticate you, it's okay. What you can do instead is tap continue. Continue will let you go ahead and finish the login process. It will take you back to the home screen. And once again, we present the same messages that appeared before. I'm going to dismiss those. So what we don't want to do is to cause you any added stress. You have a job to do and you need to get to your job. If the tablet is not recognizing your number, what you would want to do is after you finish your route for that day, contact your administrator and they can look into the matter. Again, that's why we provide you a continue button so that you can continue to the home screen and you can look into the issue later. Once again, I want to show you that on the hours button, it now says 2 people have clocked into the tablet. If I click hours, it once again shows John Driver, but now there's also an unknown person that clocked in with 88776. Once again, your administrator will need to correct this issue afterwards. This completes the process of clocking on to the tablet. In a separate video, we'll talk about clocking off of the tablet. As you can see, there's a clock out button up top. This video will discuss clocking out of the tablet. Now it's likely as the driver that you've already clocked in, you may have done a pre-trip inspection, you may have finished driving your route. At the end of driving your route, you'll log off of route service and the tablet will return you to the home screen. Every single time you return to the home screen, the tablet displays a "Are you driving a route?" message. At this point, you've just finished driving your route and you simply just want to clock off of the tablet. So we're going to say, no, I do not need to drive a route. Now in this example, two individuals have clocked onto the tablet, a driver and a transportation assistant. So if you're ready to clock off of the tablet, maybe to turn the bus off and finish your day, simply click clock out. Because there are two individuals signed on to the tablet, we have to clock each individual out separately. So first, we'll clock out the transportation assistant. Now, in this example, the transportation assistant entered a number and the tablet could not identify the transportation assistant. So we simply display the number. Regardless, whether it displays the transportation assistant's name or just a number, to clock this person off, you simply tap onto that box. The tablet will display this message: "Are you sure you want to clock out?" We'll say yes. Once again, the tablet returns you to the home screen. And every time you return to the home screen, this message displays. Do you want to drive her out? No, we don't. We've just finished driving our route. So at this point, the transportation assistant has clocked off the tablet. Notice that it now just shows one person left. That would be the driver. So if the driver is ready to clock off, you simply click clock out. Now, because there is only one person left on the tablet, the driver, we don't have to select the driver's name. The tablet is smart enough to know that one employee is left. It must be the driver. So are you sure you want to clock out? The driver would select yes. And at this point, the tablet takes them back to the welcome screen. That is the initial screen that displays after the tablet goes through its boot up process. So if you're the driver and you're totally finished with the bus that day, you would simply turn the key off to the ignition and can continue about your day. This completes the process of clocking off of the tablet. During this video, we'll talk about the completion of pre-trip and post-trip inspection forms. Fulton County Schools requires that a pre-trip form is completed before driving and a post-trip form is completed after driving. Now, as a driver, after you enter your login credentials, you'll be navigated to the home screen and a pop-up message will display saying, "Would you like to complete an inspection now?" If I click yes, I'll automatically be navigated to the inspection section of the tablet. Now, on this screen, there are several different forms that can be selected. For this example, we're going to be using the pre-trip inspection Reg Ed form. Before completing the form, I do want to mention, we're going to hit the back button here one moment. If you receive the pop-up message that says, "Do you want to complete an inspection?" and just by some chance you accidentally click no, you don't want to complete the inspection, it's going to leave you on the home screen and it's going to display this pop-up that says select a route. Now again, you still need to complete your inspection form. You just accidentally clicked no. So if that happens, you can say, "Do you want to drive a route?" Say no to that as well. That is going to show the complete home screen. And then there's an inspection button over here where you can manually navigate to an inspection. So you simply click inspection. You'll want to perform an inspection. There's also a review button. Review means review a previously completed inspection, but you're going to want to complete an inspection, so we're going to hit perform. And then once again, we're right back to the same screen that the tablet originally navigated you to. So to be very clear, when it says, do you want to complete an inspection, you want to say yes, and then you want to select your form. But once again, if you happen to make a mistake and click no, you can manually navigate to the same screen. So for this example, we'll be using pre-trip inspection regular ed, and that takes me into the pre-trip inspection form. Now at the top of the screen, this screen has a name, exterior pre-trip. We call that a group of items. What we mean by that is you're on group 1 of 2, so there's 2 different groups of items, and we display individual items under this group. Now also notice though that there are 3 pages of items. So we display 3 different items to a page, and there are 3 pages of items. And of course your responsibility will be to inspect each one of these items on the bus or around the bus and make sure they're in good working condition. These are called pass-fail fields. And what a pass-fail field means is if it's set to pass, the assumption is that you've inspected that item and it's in good working order. If for some reason you find an issue with that item, you can tap anywhere here and change it to a fail. And fail means there's some kind of issue with that item. Now, if you happen to mark an item fail, you also get the use of a note button over here. You can tap the note button, and you can enter any note you choose, something that maybe would help the mechanic be able to identify the issue and fix the issue for you. Now, that's a very generic note, but you may be more specific, right side light out or something like that. Whatever you think is going to help the mechanic identify the issue and repair the issue. You'll notice now there's a check mark there, which basically means a note has been added. Now, again, these are the first 3 items. You can use the down arrow to get to the next 2 pages. If there are no issues whatsoever, you can simply bypass this page, go on to the next page. And once again, if there's an issue, you simply tap somewhere in that area to identify that there's an issue with the exhaust. Again, we always encourage notes. Okay, once you have inspected all the items on the first grouping, you can select the next button and go to group number 2. So now we're looking for, we're inspecting interior items for the pre-trip. And once again, the same process holds true. Look down or inspect these items. And again, if there's no issues, you can go on to page number 2, page 3, so on and so forth. Again, add a note if you mark something fail. After you mark something fail, you can tap it again and change it back to pass if you've made a mistake. Once you inspect all the items in the list, notice that we've completed both groups. You can click next, and it takes you to a check results page. On the check results page, you'll see any items that you have marked fail. We don't show you the items that are in good working order. You only see the items that have been marked fail. And once again, you can review your notes by clicking on either one of these buttons. So let's say by accident I failed the exhaust, and for some reason I didn't need to fail the exhaust. Maybe I just made a mistake. Maybe I accidentally tapped on the exhaust and I didn't mean to. You can right now tap exhaust and turn it back to a pass. And if you simply click this refresh button up here, this item will fall off the page. So here we go. And notice now we only have one item that we failed for this inspection. If you're satisfied with that, you can click send to send the results on to the system so that your administration can look at those results. If you forgot an item, you will need to click back and reselect that item and then navigate forward again to the check results page. So we're going to assume that this is the item that I want to fail during this inspection. We go ahead and click send. And it says, I certify that the information provided is true, accurate, and complete for this pre-trip inspection form. If I'm ready to send these results on, I can click the yes button. If I'm not ready to send the results on, I can always click no and continue to look at the results page, or I can go back and select other items. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. Now, if you during your inspection fail what we call any critical items, in other words, something that's critical to the operation of the vehicle, you'll receive this message. It says, this vehicle is not drivable. Do you still wish to send these inspection results? So once again, you have an option. If maybe you think you've selected this in error, you can click no and go back and fix the inspection accordingly. But if this is correct, you will hit yes and go ahead and send those results onto the system. Obviously, if you receive this message, you would not want to drive the bus. You should turn that off. And of course, you would go tell your administrator that the vehicle is not drivable and then use another vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and send these results. At the end of the inspection, it will ask, do you want to complete another inspection? And if you need to complete a different inspection, you can say yes. If you don't need to complete another inspection, you would simply say no. Once your inspection has been completed, you'll be navigated back to the home screen. Every time you come back to the home screen, we display the "Are you driving a route?" message because we always want you to select your route. But at this point, you have completed your inspection, you submitted the results, and you're finished with your inspections, at least your pre-trip inspection. Now, when you're done driving your route, let's assume you go ahead and you select your route, you drive your route, and you finish your route, and there's a button that says I'm ready to end my route. So you end your route. The system will navigate you back to the home screen. And again, like I said previously, every time you come back to the home screen, we display this message. So you're going to have to ask yourself, am I driving a route? And the answer would be, no, I'm not driving a route. I just finished my route. I don't need to drive my route. Instead, what I need to do is I need to complete a post-trip inspection. So once you're finished with your route, when the system navigates you back to the home screen, are you driving a route? You're going to select no. And once again, at this point, you can manually navigate to the inspection button. You're going to perform an inspection. And at this point, you would complete the post-trip inspection form. At the end of completing this form, the system will, once you send the results, it will navigate you back to the home screen again. Once again, you're going to see this message, are you driving a route? And you would select no once again. At this point, most likely, you're done using the tablet and the vehicle for either the morning or the afternoon, and you'll probably clock out after that. Okay, once again, this has been completing a pre-trip or a post-trip inspection form. During this video, we'll talk about the process of selecting a route, also substituting for another route, and also the decision of whether or not to use navigation during your route. Now we'll do this by running through several different examples. And also I want to point out here that Fulton County Schools requires that you complete a pre-trip inspection before using the vehicle, and of course a post-trip inspection after using the vehicle. So assume that you have clocked in to the tablet. We've discussed that it'll take you to the home screen. Normally you'll receive a pop-up that says, would you like to complete an inspection? So assume that you've navigated to the inspection screen and you've completed your inspection. Once you complete your inspection, the tablet will navigate you back to the home screen once again, and it will present a pop-up message, are you driving a route? Now we need to stop for a moment and talk about this message, are you driving a route? You actually might receive one of two messages. It depends whether your bus is assigned a route or not. Most of you probably drive a bus that is assigned a daily route. And in that case, the message you'll receive will say, are you driving route such and such? For example, like, are you driving route 4016? Or are you driving route 227? Whatever your route number is that it's assigned to your bus, it will display the route number behind this message. The second option, though, is if you happen to be on a spare bus. Most of the time, or all the time, spare buses are not assigned an assigned route. And so the message will be more generic in nature. It'll say, are you driving a route? So it'll say this message here. And in that case, you can always click yes, and you'll be manually navigated to the route screen so that you can select your route. So if you receive the message, are you driving route 4016? If that's your route and you intend to drive that route, you can immediately select yes, and it will navigate you to route 4016. You'll be able to select the runs that you intend to drive, maybe like the high school run, the middle school run, or the elementary. And you can select the route and log on into the route. In this case, we're using a demo tablet, and this demo tablet is not assigned a route. So I received the generic message, are you driving a route? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, yes, I'm driving a route. I'm going to navigate to the route screen. I'm going to manually select the route that I want to drive. Now, what I'll do is when we get to the point that you would normally come to if it said, are you driving route 4016, and you said yes, I'll point out verbally where clicking yes would take you. So are you driving a route? Yes. Now you may receive this message, routes have not been synced recently, would you like to sync? Sync is CalAmp's word for download. In other words, would you like to download the most recent list of routes? Fulton County Schools is asking anytime you have the option of syncing that you go ahead and click yes and sync or download the current list. A little pop-up screen displays and the routes are synced. Now on each page we display 6 different routes, and routes are divided into AM and PM routes. So for example, you see here we have a route 1 AM, and over here we have a route 1 PM. Also we have other routes listed here as well. There are 231 pages of routes, and you can use the blue buttons to cycle forward and to see the list of routes. Obviously the issue comes, what happens if your route happens to be on page 200? You don't want to have to cycle through 200 screens to find your route. So the CalAmp tablet does provide you a search option. Simply tap search, type in the route number that you're interested in, and select next. As you can see here, we're presented with 4016 AM and 4016 PM. So in this example, I'm going to select 4016 AM. I'm navigated to the Select Run screen. Now, I said that I would point out where would the tablet navigate you as the driver to if you were assigned this route. So on the beginning home screen where it said, are you driving route 4016? If you would have selected yes, this is the screen that it would take you to. And from there, all you would have to do is simply select which of the runs you intend to drive. So if you intended to drive all 3 runs, you're going to tap on all 3 runs and it changes them to selected. If you're only going to drive 2 of the runs, you would obviously only tap 2. You can always tap and untap to select or deselect a run. In this example, I'm going to assume you're going to drive all 3 runs, and so you're going to select all 3 runs. Go ahead and click Continue. Now this page looks very similar, but there is a slight difference. So this is telling you that you've already selected 3 runs. And again, the same 3 runs are selected. Now there is a sub button up here. So if your administration says to you today, I would like you to drive your normal route consisting of 3 runs, but I also want you to pick up a run or 2 from someone else's route, you can click the sub button. The sub button will take you back to the select route screen, and once again you can either select the run or the route if it's on this page, you can navigate forward, or you can search for another one. So most likely you'll click search, type in the route number, select next, and once again you're presented with the 2 options. We're going to select 1 AM. And again, it may give you the option of syncing. Go ahead and select yes. At this point, you'll need to select which of these 3 runs you intend to drive. So for this example, I'm simply going to select the bottom one. And now if I click Continue, it takes me back to that screen we saw previously. And notice there are now 4 runs selected. So I have 3 runs consisting of 4016. If I go to the second page, that's where I'll see the additional runs selected for 0001. So the tablet does give you the option of driving your route and your runs, and you can also click the sub button up here to select 1 or more runs from another route. Now again, for this example, I'm going to go ahead and unselect this additional run, and you can do that as well if need be. So once again, I'm back to driving my assigned runs only. I'm going to click Finish. You receive a pop-up message. Are you sure you wish to start your route? We're going to say yes. Then you'll be prompted, do you want to use navigation? So at this point, you need to ask yourself, do you need to use navigation or not? And obviously you can select no or yes. If this is your normal assigned route and runs, and you're very familiar with the route, and you don't need the tablet navigating you from stop to stop to stop, you can simply click no. If you're not very familiar with the run and it stops, you can say yes, and then the tablet will navigate you from stop to stop. In this first example, we're going to say no and assume that you know the route very well. Now, once again, we're getting a sync message here. In this case, it's saying, do you want to download the most recent stop listing and student listing for the route and run that you've selected? We're going to say yes. And as you can see, the list of stops and the stop times are listed on the page. Like other screens, we show 3 stops to a page only. There are blue buttons down at the bottom of the page where you can cycle forward to see the next list of 3 stops. To the right of each stop, we show the time that the bus should arrive at each stop. And then at the top of the page, there's a clock, a running clock, so that as you drive the route, when you pull up to each stop, you can reference the running clock to see if you're running on time or behind time, etc. So at this point, you would simply drive the route. You would stop at each stop accordingly. You do have the option of clicking on a stop. You're presented with a student option, also a stop arm violation option. We've discussed the stop arm violation option in a separate video. It allows you to indicate that a vehicle ignored your stop arm. If you click students, you will be presented with the list of students that are supposed to board that stop. Again, there might be multiple pages. Go ahead and select the back button once, and that takes you back to the stop listing. Go ahead and navigate forward. And when you arrive at the last page, it should list the school location that you're to drop students off at. And in this case, it also says what time you should depart the school. Now at this point, you've driven the first run, and most likely you have a second and third run to drive as well. If you simply click the switch run button, you'll then be presented with the next 2 runs that are available to you. So I'm going to select switch run. Are you sure you wish to switch run to this run? I'm going to say yes. Once again, you may receive this "Would you like to sync" pop-up. Select yes. And as before, the stops are shown along with the stop times. Again, the expectation would be that you would drive this run. When you're finished with that run, you're going to click switch run yet again. You're going to switch to the last run and sync those stops as well. Now, once you have completed runs 1, 2, and 3, at that point you would be finished with your morning route, and you can still click that switch run button, and you will notice that you're presented with an in service button. In service basically means I want to be taken out of route service, I'm done driving my routes, and I want to return to the home page. So I'm going to click in service. Are you sure you wish to end service? Yes. You're navigated back to the home screen, and as we've discussed in many videos, every time you return to the home screen, the message "Are you driving a route?" will display, and you just have to ask yourself, do I need to select a route or do I not need to select a route? Okay, so that's example number 1. You are a driver that's assigned a normal route, and you've gone in and you've selected that route, and you've chosen not to use navigation. Now let's do the same example, except this time let's say that you want to use navigation. What would the screen look like if you had chosen navigation? So am I driving a route? Yes. I'm going to navigate to the route screen. I'm going to select the same route. I'm going to select all 3 runs. This is the same steps we completed before. Click continue. 3 runs are selected. Again, if you need to sub in for a portion of someone else's route, you can do that. I'm going to click finish. Do I want to start my route? Yes. And do I wish to use navigation? I'm going to say yes. Now, what's different about navigation here is that instead of listing 3 stops to a page, the tablet will only display 1 stop at a time. You can see there's a map on the left side of the page. The red dot indicates your vehicle's location, and the blue line indicates the direction you should follow. Once again, on the right side, we list one stop, we label it number one stop, and we give you the stop time. There are previous and next buttons where you could navigate forward or backwards between the stops. And in order for the tablet to start giving you directions, you will need to start moving the vehicle. Now, there may be a couple of actions that you want to take while you're sitting in the transportation lot before you begin driving your route. You may become aware that some of your students will not ride that day. For this example, let's assume that your administration has informed you that the students at stop 5 will not be riding the bus today. So if you click on stop number 5, you're presented with a number of options. We've discussed already the student option, but I want to focus now on what we call the bypass stop option. So if you don't need to make stop number 5 today, you can bypass that stop in advance. Simply click bypass stop. You'll receive this pop-up message. Are you sure you want to bypass the stop? Yes. Now the screen will default back to stop number 1, but you'll notice that the map is recalculating, and if we navigate forward, you'll see that stop number 5 now has diagonal lines running through it. That basically indicates that you've said that you want to skip stop number 5. So the tablet will navigate you to stop 1, 2, 3, 4. It will then skip stop 5 and take you on to stop 6 instead. And if you have multiple stops that you need to skip, you can obviously navigate forward to other stops as needed. You can tap on that white area once again, and you can choose other stops to navigate to bypass as well. Another feature you have at your disposal is skip to here. If I would select skip to here, notice that I have stop 7 selected. That would basically say the first stop that I want to navigate to is stop 7, and I want to skip stops 1 through 6. Now that would be kind of extreme in this case to bypass stops 1 through 6 and automatically navigate to stop 7. But that feature is there if you ever need to use it. Once again, we have a stop arm violation option, and we have one other option as well called mark as arrived. So let's pretend for a second that you are driving the bus and you're trying to get to stop number 7, but once you get close to the stop, maybe there's been some kind of an incident, maybe an accident in the middle of the road, or possibly a water main break, and you are not going to be able to physically drive the bus to where you normally pick up the students at. Maybe a police officer is there and is asking you to navigate around a side road. Well, the tablet is going to keep trying to navigate you to where you normally would pick up students. So what you can do instead, of course, follow the officer's directions, but you can tap on this stop and say mark as arrived. That basically means that you're manually telling the tablet that I have made stop 7, and if I navigate forward again, notice that stop 7 now has diagonal lines running through it. You've marked it as that you've arrived at stop, so that when you start moving again, the tablet will automatically navigate you to stop number 8 instead of back to stop 7. Okay, at this point, you would go out and drive the route, and the tablet would navigate you from stop to stop to stop. If I select the menu option, I'm presented with several options. I could return to the home screen. I could end navigation if I no longer want to use that. And I also have that switch run button as well. So once again, I'm on the first run. If I've completed the first run, I would probably click switch run. I would select my second run. I would begin it. And once again, I'm taken back to the screen with the map. The tablet calculates its route, and I'm presented with stop number 1. When I'm finished with it, I would return to the menu button. I would switch run yet again. I would select run number 3, and I would drive it. Once I've finished with all the runs that I've decided to drive, I can click switch run, and I can go to in service, which once again means I'm done driving my route for the morning and I'm ready to end service. At this point, I would ask myself, am I driving a route? I would say no. I would complete my post-trip inspection form, and then I would clock off of the tablet. Okay, once again, we've talked about the 2 different pop-up messages. Are you driving route 4016? Or are you driving a route, a more generic message that you would see on a spare bus? We've talked about how to select your assigned route. We've talked about how to sub in for someone else's route. And we've talked about the differences between using and not using navigation, including ending your route and coming back to the home page. Once again, always ensure that you complete the post-trip inspection form and then clock out. During this video, we'll cover CalAmp's point-to-point navigation feature. The point-to-point navigation feature lets you enter an address to a location, and the tablet will navigate you from your current location to the address that you entered. During this example, let's assume that we want to navigate from our current location to the Georgia Aquarium. So on the home screen, we'll click the navigation button. You may receive a pop-up here. Just simply dismiss the pop-up. You'll be navigated to a navigation screen. There's an add stop button here, and it also says please add a stop in order to start navigation. So you can click right in this white area to enter an address. Takes you to 3 options: enter an address, recent places. So if you've navigated somewhere previously, you can use a recent address. You can also mark certain addresses as favorites. So I'm going to click enter address. And normally when you say an address, you would say something like, I want to navigate to 225 Baker Street, Atlanta, Georgia, zip code 30303. That's how you would say it if you said it verbally. In this case, you almost are going to enter the address backwards. We're going to enter the zip code first, then the city or state, then the street name, then the street number. So we'll start with the zip, 30303. Click next. Notice that it finds Atlanta, Georgia. You may have multiple selections to choose from, so simply click on the one that you want. Next, it says enter the street. Now this only means the street name, not the number. So I'm going to enter Baker Street. Now that the street name has been entered, I'll click next. Notice that I get 2 options here, Baker Street Northeast and Baker Street Northwest. We're going to select Baker Street Northwest. And then lastly, enter the house number or the street number. Select next. And now at this point, you get a more complete address. Once again, 225 Baker Street Northwest. Finally, we get the pop-up message that says, are you sure you wish to navigate to this location? And we're going to select yes. At this point, The tablet plots your location on the map. So the red dot indicates your location, and then you'll see that a blue line is plotted on the map as well, which is the directions to that location. Right here it says that the tablet will be navigating you to 225 Baker Street Northwest. And once your vehicle starts moving, obviously navigation directions will occur. You'll hear audio directions and the map would update as well. Now, if you ever have a need to go to multiple locations or maybe multiple waypoints, you can also click the Add Stop button here. So, for example, if I wanted to be sure that the tablet navigated me to this location and then to yet another location, I could go ahead and add a stop, and the first would be stop 1 and the second would be stop 2, so on and so forth. Now you can click the menu button here. The menu button either lets you navigate back to the home screen. You can also end navigation as well. So I'm going to select end navigation. So the assumption being you go ahead, you drive the bus, and you arrive at the Georgia Aquarium. Maybe you want to end navigation. You receive a pop-up message. Are you sure you wish to end navigation? We'll say yes. And in this case, it leaves you on the navigation screen, but notice that the address is no longer listed in the white box. Now, if you'd like, you can come up to the hamburger menu button, and you can navigate back to the home screen. We've discussed this in previous videos. Anytime that you navigate back to the home screen, you will receive this pop-up message, are you driving a route? So in this case, we'll assume you're not driving a route. We'll say no, which displays the full home screen. At this point, you can use any one of the other options, or you can also clock out. Now we're going to go ahead and navigate back to navigation. If you click on this white area again, this time instead of entering an address, you can use recent places. I'm going to select recent places. And there are several options listed here. We show 3 to a page. Notice that there are also 3 pages of options. You can scroll down. And notice here again, there's 225 Baker Street. So I could select that again. And again, I would be navigated to that location. Now, something else you can do is once you have an address in this white box, if you click on the white area, you get several other options like add to favorites. Now, bypass stop has to do with if you would have several stops in your list, then you can bypass one of those stops if needed. Skip to here also means it's similar to bypass stop, but let's say you had 3 or 4 or 5 stops where you want the tablet to navigate you to stop 1, then stop 2, then stop 3, so on and so forth. Let's say you navigated forward and selected stop 3. You could then say skip to here, meaning bypass stop 1 and 2 and automatically skip me forward to stop 3. In other words, the tablet would navigate you to 3 first, then on to 4 or 5, so on and so forth. So once again, if you want to add it to favorites, click add to favorites. And you can give it a favorite name. Okay, so I'm going to end navigation. Once again, I'm going to click the white area. Now if I click the favorites option, notice that the aquarium is listed as a favorite. There's also a delete button if you'd like to remove that from your list. Once again, we looked at CalAmp's point-to-point feature. It allows you to enter an address, and the tablet will then navigate you from your current location to the address that you entered.